Hey everyone, I'm Hexadecimal, and I'm going to show you how to hit Diamond in 30 days. Why do this? Well, I've never played top lane before. I've never even played top lane champions before. And so it's a perfect opportunity to show you how even when you start out looking like a noob, anyone can achieve the rank of Diamond with the right guidance. This is the second episode in this series where I'll be walking you through step by step what you need to learn to start climbing through the ranks. Which, by the way, the full course is getting insanely positive reviews on our website. Not only are a ton of people saying it's the best course we've ever created, but they're also getting massive rank increases that we've never seen before. And by unlocking this full course, you not only get access to episode 3 and 4 in this series, but also 23 additional videos documenting every step of my climb from silver to diamond. I even show you the challenger tricks to going over your own replays to improve at an insanely fast speed. This course alone took us over 1 month to create, and it's essential if you want to improve and see results. So what are you waiting for? Click the discount link in the description below to unlock the full course and start seeing insane results. Now back to the guide. As a brief recap, in week 1 we explained how the first step of your journey should always be learning how to win the early game. This will unlock your ability to carry the game through good macro later on. Because of this, we had to start, well, from the start, at level 1. By the end of the first week, we had a thorough understanding of how to play out the early levels around levels 1 to 5 to set us up for early leads. In this second week, our focus is going to shift into, well, what happens after these first few levels, and learning how to snowball that early lead into then completely stomping our lane. So let's jump into it. Now, there are 2 key concepts you need to understand if you want to snowball in top lane. The first is that top lane is essentially just taking turns slow pushing. And the second is that tower diving is your new way of life. Let's start with the first point, slow pushing. In this game, I'm Renekton against Aurelia, and I'm in around low platinum. I get my early lead with everything I taught you in episode 1, getting early control over the lane, spiking level 2, and hitting the standard ward timing on the 3rd wave. And after that 3rd wave crashes, it's rebounding back to me so I can set up a freeze in the future. Additionally, Aurelia has lost health due to the earlier trades, and is out of sustain while I still have 1 health potion left. Long story short, she tries to all in since she's going to be in such a bad spot in the near future, but it doesn't work since I got such a big lead in the first 2 levels. The enemy jungler Shaco then kills me, but keep in mind since the wave was pushing into me, Aurelia now has lost minions, while I have a giant minion wave of experience and gold to pick up when I get back to lane. And this is the moment that I want to teach you. With a kill and CS advantage, I clearly have started to get a lead on Aurelia. The question is, how do I now snowball it further? Well, the first thing you need to understand is that if you have an early lead that allows you to win fights against the opponent, you pretty much never want to push if you can help it. The best choice will be to set up a freeze, which is done by making sure the enemy minion wave has at least 3 more minions than your own. This is known as the 3 minion rule, and it will allow you to hold a freeze for an infinite amount of time. By freezing the wave in front of your tower, it will force the opponent to engage with you since they have to move up to last it, and when they do, you then trade with them. If they don't move up to last it out of fear of this, well, they're just getting permanently zoned from the entire wave, generating no gold, which also results in you snowballing further. It's basically a lose-lose for the opponent. That being said, as I get back to lane, the wave is giant. I try to thin it out and tank it so I can set up that freeze, but quickly realize it's just too big and it's too close to my tower, and I'm taking way too much damage, and so I just clear it to reset the waves. Here's the thing though, you need to understand there's no such thing as waves actually being truly reset. 1 minion wave is always going to end up outpushing the other. This is typically caused by what's known as the even minion rule. Whichever side the minion wave is closest to, it will then push in the opposite direction. This is because when a wave is closer to one side, that side's reinforcing wave will arrive in lane slightly earlier, and thus start damaging the enemy minions earlier and causing a push to occur. This is a very important rule to understand, as it can be incredibly impactful. You see how I didn't clear this one last minion, just this one minion, fast enough, and it caused my minion wave to ever so slightly group on it for like 1 second. Well, this is all it takes. This then resulted in the minion waves being slightly closer to my side of the map, causing the even minion rule to come into effect, and so it's actually going to push towards Aurelia over time. The reason I wanted to show you this scenario is that this is going to be the most common scenario you find yourself in top lane. You get a solo kill or some sort of lead on the opponent, but for whatever reason, you weren't able to immediately set up a freeze, and so now it's slowly pushing towards the enemy. The absolute worst thing you could do, the biggest mistakes players make in these spots, is hard pushing the wave. If I were to just clear the wave as fast as I can, which is hard pushing, Aurelia could just sit back at the safety of her tower, then farm that entire wave once it gets under the tower, and then the minion waves will reset again at the center of the lane. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, if the minion waves reset when I hard push, then isn't it possible that it will end up pushing towards me and I get that freeze I want? Absolutely not. Even when you truly reset the wave and it's dead center in the middle of the lane, it will still push towards the opponent when you have a lead. Why? Because you're going to last hit minions, while they won't. They'll let themselves get zoned. And just like in our previous example, where just having the minion wave get delayed by less than a second still results in a push towards the enemy, that small extra damage you apply when last hitting minions then means your minion wave is taking less damage. It will start to build up and slow push towards the opponent. This is very important for you to understand. Hard pushing pretty much gets you nothing, and if you don't have a freeze going, then slow pushing is your only other option. This is why you need to master the slow push. So, I have a lead, I'm now slow pushing, meaning I'm only last hitting the minions. Keep in mind, if Aurelia went into last hit, I'd immediately trade aggressively since I'm stronger. But probably to your surprise, Platinum players, they actually aren't that stupid, and so Aurelia just sits back and waits for the wave to inevitably crash into her tower. And so, again, you're probably thinking, isn't this just the same result as if we had hard pushed? I mean, Aurelia got to safely farm the wave under her tower. Absolutely not. Firstly, by slow pushing, you don't have to use your abilities like when you hard push a wave. Since we're only last hitting, our abilities are always up in case we get ganked or Aurelia decides to go in for a trade. If you find yourself losing 1v1s despite having a lead, pay attention to if you used abilities on the wave prior to dying. You probably did, and it made the difference. Secondly, by slow pushing, you build up a giant wave of minions that essentially act as a second champion's worth of damage. This acts as our protection against the enemy jungler ganking or mid lane roaming, since instead of a 1v2, it basically becomes a 2v2 with the wave backing you up. It also guarantees you'll win any trades or all-ins from the opponent, as we only have a slight lead right now. Thirdly, it gives you a much larger timing window once the wave crashes into the tower to go do something else. In this instance, if we hard push the wave, with only 6 minions and the tower damage, Aurelia would clear that wave very fast and then be free to match our movement on the map. However, with a slow push, Aurelia is now stuck at her tower for much longer, killing the minions. This gives us a longer timing window to go pressure the map, which in this case I used to get a control ward down, use the Squire's Bloom plant to scout the enemy's jungle, and ward the Gromp. Think of how valuable this is, not only for myself, but for my team. We now know the jungler isn't topside, and so now mid and bot can play much safer until he shows on my ward to avoid being ganked. It also sets up my Nunu to invade shortly after and steal the Gromp. And lastly, by slow pushing a wave, it sets up what's known as a rebound. Remember, if we hard push a wave, it just cleanly resets the wave back to the center. But check out what happens when we slow push. The enemy's incoming wave will end up getting caught on ours while it's still under their tower. By catching the wave here, it results in the waves meeting on the enemy side of the map, and just like we taught you earlier, it means the even minion rule is now in effect, and a slow push is occurring to our side of the map. This is huge because you can then thin out that rebounding wave so they only have a 3 minion advantage. This then allows you to set up a freeze and force the enemy to fight you or be zoned. Check out how with this rebound occurring, I can now just fight Aurelia every time she tries to CS. And take a look at the minion wave. It's not only on her side of the map, so the even minion rule is pushing it towards us, but she also has 3 more minions, indicating we can set up a freeze in the future. So I'm just last hitting, trying to set up this freeze later on, so I can zone Aurelia. But Aurelia isn't respecting that and goes for a last hit, so I make sure to trade aggressively. However, you'll notice by trading, I've now indirectly damaged the minions, and now it's pushing towards Aurelia. This is super common and leads into our second key concept: tower diving is everything in top lane. Slow pushing is great for the reasons we listed, and freezing is great for zoning the opponent or forcing a winning trade if they tried to last it. However, these are all an accumulation of small leads. The true killing blow comes once you get that winning trade off the freeze. Sure, you'll often break the freeze due to damaging the minions during that trade, but now the enemy is low enough that you can actually tower dive them. So I build up a big wave and prepare to tower dive. However, again, a very common scenario you'll find yourself in. In this instance, I felt like Aurelia was a bit too high in health while having her W ability to negate damage. So I didn't want to commit to the all-in just now, but you can still go for a quick trade under tower. It doesn't matter if the trade is even, because you're just trying to get them low enough that they're within kill range on the very next wave. I'm able to accomplish this, and so on that next wave, it makes for an easy tower dive. In fact, it's so easy, I'm even able to kill the enemy jungler that tried to help. Also, just check out how effective this is. When I get back to lane, what do you think that I'm gonna do? Well, I can't freeze this wave, so I default into slow pushing just as we taught you. I then ask my jungler to come tower dive the Aurelia when the big wave crashes. In the end, Aurelia smartly leaves the tower as she would just die anyways, and so we take the tower and its turret plates for free. To show you how insane this is at pushing your lead, I only had a 1,000 gold lead at the start of the sequence. In less than 2 minutes by the end of it, I had a 2,300 gold lead. Yeah, that's what you call snowballing. Alright, so the previous section did a good job illustrating the power of slow pushing, but we kind of glossed over the freezing aspect, so let's fix that. In this game, I'm against a Darius, again in low platinum, and surprise surprise, I get my lead in the exact same way as we taught you in episode 1. Early control of the wave, into a level 2 spike setting up a winning trade, which then results in a solo kill at level 3. As we crash the wave into the tower to recall, notice how the enemy minion wave just got caught on ours under the tower. This is the telltale sign that we taught you that a rebound will occur and we'll be able to set up a freeze in the future. Once I head back to lane though, the enemy has built up a giant wave. The key here is to thin the wave out by killing minions, but not too many, making sure you have at least 3 extra minions alive so you can set up that permanent freeze. It doesn't have to be a super exact science either. You can see in my case, I just made sure to leave 4 alive. At this point, it's really nothing special. Just every time Darius moves up to last hit, I trade aggressively. Keep in mind, I'm not going to commit to the all-in, since Darius has more sustained damage than me in his kit, and by the nature of freezing, he has a big wave that will be damaging me the whole time. As long as Darius continues to try to last hit and doesn't just accept being zoned, I'll just go in whenever my abilities have come back off cooldown to win the trade and then back out. Darius eventually gets so low from this, he knows that he has to recall, or he'll just die the next time he walks up. However, and this is the value of freezing, by recalling, it means I can maintain the freeze for as long as possible since he's losing a massive amount of golden experience as minions die when he's not in lane. So once he does get back into lane, he's actually level 4 to my level 6, and so now I have enough of a lead that I can just all in from full HP. Oh yeah, and just like in the other clip, his jungler tries to help, but it doesn't matter because I have too much of a lead, and so I'm just causing her to waste her time, preventing her from snowballing on any of the other lanes. Okay, so in both of these examples of using slow pushing and freezing to snowball, I was able to get an early lead in the first few levels. But let's be honest, that won't always happen. There will be plenty of games where you go even in the first few levels, but guess what? Everything you just learned can still be used to snowball when you and the enemy are even. Let me explain. Here I'm against a Yone who's taking flash exhaust. I implement my same early game strategy with early control of the wave, into a level 2 spike, using the timing window in the third wave to ward, into then crashing that third wave. The problem here is that he's just playing extremely safe the entire time. And so I then try to set up a freeze off the rebound to force him into having to trade, but the enemy jungler actually bails him out by ganking me and crashing the wave to set up a recall timing for him. Given that he's now coming back to lane with an item advantage, I don't exactly want to fight him. I just slow push to build up a big wave. This way he can't trade into me without losing due to the minion damage. And then eventually the wave crashes. This sets me up with my own recall timing to now be the one with the item advantage. And as I get back to lane, surprise surprise, he's the one who's now slow pushing. And with so many minions I still have to kill, he temporarily has a level lead. This zones me from the wave and prevents me from trading. The wave crashes and you're starting to get the idea here. We're basically stuck in an infinite loop. We're taking turns slow pushing. The only way for one of us to get a lead is if either one of us makes the mistake of trying to aggressively trade when the enemy has a big wave built up, or 2, a jungler comes to try and tower dive off the big wave crashing, or just a gank or something. In this game, I actually saw Yone make the mistake of moving into the river, so I used that timing window to just hard push the wave to reset it. The specifics here really don't matter though. The point is, at some point, something will happen which will cause this wave to reset and a break in the back and forth slow pushing. This is the key moment for you to trade, since the enemy no longer has that big wave built up to protect them. Additionally, since you aren't the one building up a big wave and slow pushing to them, it's not like they can just sit back and wait for the wave to get to their tower. They either have to move up to last hit or be zoned. In this case, you can see how Yone put his E and W on cooldown, so I knew I could use my E aggressively and win any trade. Shortly after, Yone is still playing aggressive despite his E still being on cooldown, and having just missed his empowered Q, I just walk at him to win another trade. Basically, you can see how it's not really like high-level trading that's winning me the lane, as there's no way to out-trade an opponent when they have big waves stacked up. That's why the focus of this guide is so much on wave control. Once you get wave control down, you just play so consistent, you're pretty much unkillable. It becomes really easy to trade, as just like in this case, enemy laners will get impatient. They try to go aggressive and they put spells on cooldown, then you just counterattack during that time. You know what's really cool though? Now that we understand the freezing, slow pushing, and tower diving, well, guess what we're going to do off those winning trades? We know we can't freeze since we have the minion lead, so we know a slow push is inevitable and it will crash into the enemy tower. We also know Yone is low enough to now tower dive. So, putting 2 and 2 together, we just crash the wave into the tower and dive for a free kill. And since Yone didn't take teleport, we're able to stay after to take 2 tower plates while also denying another minion wave to the tower. Here's what's really crazy though, is that I was only ahead around 300 gold prior to all of this happening. And yet by the end of the sequence, I was nearly 1,300 gold ahead. How is that even possible? I only got 1 kill. Well, this is how insanely powerful tower diving is. It's not that Yone died, his death is only 300 gold for us. It's that he loses a ton of minions in the big wave we crash when we set up the tower dive. He then also loses the wave we push into the tower after he's dead. And for those who don't know, 2.5 waves is roughly equal to a kill, so that's another 300 gold for us. We then use the same wave that we pushed to take 2 turret plates, which is also roughly worth the same as a kill. This is why we ended up getting a 900 to 1000 gold lead, instead of just a 300 gold lead from a kill. What you need to take away from this is that a kill on a tower dive can often be worth 3 times as much as just a regular kill in lane. Oh, and another surprise here, take a guess what I did to snowball even harder after this happened. That's right, the old slow push into tower dive. It's really the key to snowballing your leads in top lane. So let's quickly recap what we learned in this episode. First, whenever you get an early lead, you want to try to set up a freeze. This will force the opponent to move into range of you, so you can trade when they last hit, or they just get zoned from the wave. Both are going to be winning for you. When you can't freeze, you default into a slow push. It guarantees you'll win trades, protects you from ganks, and gives you a bigger timing window once the wave crashes. You can then use this large timing window to roam, ward, or recall, and that very same crash sets up a rebound, which you can then use to set up a lane-winning freeze. This will all result in you eventually getting a winning trade at some point in the game. Once you do, it will then set up the tower dive, which just catapults you ahead. All it really takes is one successful tower dive, and you can pretty much tower dive them on repeat after that, setting you up to carry the rest of the game. And speaking of carrying the rest of the game, that's exactly what we teach you in episodes 3 and 4, which are live right now in the full course on our website. It's there, you'll not only get all the episodes in this series, but I've even gone so far to record live commentaries throughout my entire climb, so you can follow me on my journey to diamond step by step. I demonstrate how to actually implement what we teach you in real games, how to identify replays and mistakes that you're making, and so much more. Essentially, you'll be able to see in real time the step-by-step process of how someone actually improves at the game that you can then copy and get results with. This course alone took us over 1 month to create, and it's essential if you want to improve and see results. So what are you waiting for? Click the discount link in the description below to unlock the full course and start climbing ranks fast. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.